Elentila Lumenomentievo. Welcome to Tolkien on Tap. I'm TJ. Grab a drink and enjoy Almien. Hello, everyone. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. Tolkien on Tap is back. Today, I've got some friends of mine who I met at Westmoot in person, which was awesome. I've known both of them through the internets for a little bit, showing my age, saying internets. And so we'll get into it. First up, we have Krishane. How are you doing, Krishane?
I am having a wonderful day. I've got today off. We have a state holiday for Juneteenth here in Washington State for state
Nice.
workers, so it's lovely. I'm having a nice day off.
Very nice. And so before we get into everything, how did you get into Tolkien? Like what brought you to the works and made you fall in love with Tolkien stuff?
So when I honestly don't remember a time in my life without the animated Hobbit film. Like that was just always part of my life. My parents weren't nerds though. I watched a lot of nerdy stuff growing up, but I wasn't one of those people where like my parents cherished the books and they read it to me and everything. Like they're not nerdy. So grew up with the Hobbit film, was in a musical version of the Hobbit when I was, I think, something like third grade. I was a spider. That was fun.
Nice.
And then when I started dating my high school sweetheart, who is now my ex-husband and also still a good friend, he actually gave me a copy of The Hobbit. And from there, I read everything. I devoured it. I read The Hobbit, went straight into The Lord of the Rings. That was the year before The Fellowship of the Ring came out in theaters. So I read it just before the film made an impression on my mind. And so, yeah, went from Lord of the Rings straight into the Silmarillion, straight into Unfinished Tales. I mean, it was just I never looked back.
Nice. The beginning of your story mirrors mine kind of similarly.
Yeah,
And what are you drinking tonight, Krishane?
I am drinking my homemade Mirvor. So
Oh,
food and drink, as well as specifically Tolkien themed food and drink, is a passion of mine. This is a
very
clarified
nice.
milk punch. I brought it to Westmoot. It was thoroughly enjoyed and gone very quickly.
Yeah, it was. I didn't get to taste the alcoholic. Oh no, you know what? Someone did give me some of theirs.
You did get to taste
That's
the
right. I
alcohol.
did have the alcoholic. You
Okay.
want to do you want to give the recipe, or is that something you're holding in your heart?
I will give some tasting notes. I'm not going to go through the whole recipe, but it's really cool. So, like clarified milk punch, it's kind of like alchemy. So you basically throw your alcohol and any other flavorings, spices. This one has rose water in it, a bunch of different floral notes in it. You throw that all in a pot together with some kind of tea to get some tannins, and then you put milk in it, and it curdles, and it looks disgusting and undrinkable and awful, and you're questioning yourself, like, what have I done? You let that marinate for a few hours, and then you strain all the liquids through the curds, and you're left with this lovely clear liquid. Depending on what you put in it, could be a little bit of a rose color, could be a little bit of a golden color like this one. This has notes of honey, rosewater, jasmine, elderflower. Trying to think of what other flowers it's got in there. Honeysuckle. It's got some honeysuckle extract. So
Nice.
melange of florals and honey.
Is that the exact same recipe you brought to Westmoot?
It is. It is the exact same one.
Nice. I like that you got a fancy glass to drink out of too.
I wanted to drink out of a
Very
fancy.
nice. It is the nectar of the Valar. So next up, we've got Zach. How are you doing today, Zach?
I am doing fantastic. I'm also had the day off, but if you if you work all the time and on your day off is not really a day off, so you got lots of house chores and stuff to do. So I got all that done this afternoon so that I could have my evening free for this. So
Oh, you're a responsible adult because I
well.
didn't go to work today either, and I sat around and did nothing.
But yeah, no, it's been a pretty good day. It's also really hot here, but it's been pretty nice.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Nice. How did you get into Tolkien? What's your Tolkien journey?
Oh gosh. Way back, I was like, it was I think 2001 or whenever the movie came out on DVD. My dad got it for us for Christmas, and we watched it Christmas Day. And I had no idea. I'd never heard of Tolkien before. I had never heard of The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or anything. And I watched this movie, and I was like, I fell in love with it. I was like, what is this? I literally was like every 2 seconds asking my dad, who is that? How did
Mm-hmm.
they do that? And not only was I asking about like the story, but it's also what got me into film. Like how did they make the orcs look like that? How did that's not CGI? Like how did they do that? Like this is real.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with the filming world, and I fell in love with Tolkien, and that's what kind of got me started into it. And I started making my own movies in my backyard. I made my own Lord of the Rings movie,
Nice.
and I've been filming and doing stuff with film ever since. And so I owe it all to, Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring coming out on DVD, and my dad just happened to buy it for us kids.
Nice.
And then my dad was like, if you want to see the rest in theaters, Two Towers and Return of the King, you have to read the books first. So I he went out and we bought the books and I read them, and like I literally was like reading them as fast as I could just so that I could get to see the movies in theaters. So
How old did you say you were when you first saw the
it was
Fellowship?
I must have been 11, 12 years old. It was
Okay.
2002,
I think
2003.
2002 is when the DVD came out. Yeah.
Yeah, it so I must have been 11, 12 years old.
Okay.
And that's when I first like this is my thing. This is now my hyper focus for the rest of my life.
Nice.
Mhm.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I love hearing stories. That's why I ask every single person the first time they're on their journey, because I mean it's different for everyone. Some people it's the book, some people it's the Jackson films, some people it's the animated films. I mean it was the
Which I do
animated.
love.
Yeah, yeah. It was the Rankin Bass Hobbit for me as
Yeah.
well. Krishane and I are pretty similar ages. So yeah, my journey was the Rankin Bass Hobbit for Christmas one year, and then my mom was like, "Oh, by the way, I've got the books in the basement. You want to borrow them?" And they're still mine to this day.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's the like 76 version or editions or whatever with the heraldry on the
Yeah, yeah.
sides.
I
That's
love
A
those.
lot of
awesome.
people, a lot of people are missing the Hobbit, but they're decent. They're decent. I mean, the Hobbit and the Fellowship, you can tell were read. I mean, you can't really see because I got
Yeah.
they're the ones that are in the worst shape. Those are the two I read the most, but the spines were untouched because my mom never read them. She just had them.
Oh.
But yeah, I read the Hobbit in a tent in my backyard and listened to a Metallica song, which I know is weird, but it's Low Man's lyric. It's not the heaviest song I have. So what are you drinking tonight, Zach? You are
I
drinking, or are you
yeah,
sober
so
tonight?
I do drink, but I don't have anything. I don't keep a lot in the house. I don't drink typically at the house. So
Fair enough.
tonight I am currently drinking just a Coke slushy. It's one of my favorite things in the world is a slushy.
Okay.
And then I also have some cream soda, and I have a big giant like Lord of the Rings mug that's waiting for me downstairs when this finishes. So
Nice.
so I'll be
So you
having
will be Bill the Pony tonight. Bill the Pony is
yes.
our designated driver. So thank you for getting us safely where we need to go, at least to the mines of Moria, and then we can derail after that. Wow.
Make
All
it
right. So
work.
yeah, before we get into the meat of what we're gonna do, there is a drinking game, and just for a reminder for everyone listening, or if you're here, these are the rules. When these things are mentioned, take a drink. So, and there's a lot of things are written in Quenya, so I'll say the Quenya and the Sindarin name. So Finderato, Finrod, Nola Finway, Fingolfin, Nelia Finway, Maidros. How much I said Maitimo, which is just another one of his Quenya names. If we say fuck Thingol/Elway, if Athrobeth is mentioned, Shibboleth is mentioned, Finway is mentioned, Gandalf loves hobbits, Faramir for Frodo, any of Turin's names, Huan, the goodest boy, Lotro, and footnote 33. If any of those are mentioned, then we take a drink.
Okay.
It's
I
a
love
lot.
that.
It's a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Slightly
Um,
terrified.
yeah, yeah. It gets really dangerous sometimes. So we'll see. I am currently drinking some Tito's and some pink strawberry lemonade out of my glass that I got
Ooh.
from Tombstone down at Big Nose Kate's Saloon, out of my big ass beer mug. And with that, let's get into it. So tonight we're going to be talking about fan edits. This was something that Krishane specifically really wanted to talk about. And Zach, being a huge fan of film and saying that he made his own Lord of the Rings. Did you say it was the film, or like you made your own fan edit of it? I mean, I know you made your own fan edit, but like initially what you were talking about.
No. Yeah. So no, I made an hour long Lord of the Rings movie in my backyard with my two best friends and my
Nice.
family, my siblings, over the course of about 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
We were homeschooled as kids, and so we
Mhm.
would have some time during the week and sometimes during the weekends to kind of hang out a little bit.
Mhm.
And so every weekend, every time we would hang out, we would just pick up where we left off and film the next couple of scenes, and then we'd watch it. I didn't know how to edit at the time, so everything was just done in continuity there. So like whatever we would watch up to the point on the little camera that we had, and then
Mhm.
all right, well the next scene is this. Let's do it. And no, we made our own thing. We made our own wooden swords. We made our own costumes. We went to like the thrift stores and Goodwill and stuff like that, and then just put together our own stuff.
Nice.
So yeah,
Were
we
you
made
a
our own.
were you a theater kid?
Yes, I
Okay, I was
was.
gonna say I was a theater kid too, and that felt very theater kid. That story right there,
Yeah,
because I also went to the thrift store to go get my cosplay that I did to go be Frodo at the midnight showing of Return of the King, and I
yeah.
remember going to thrift stores all the time because of theater. You want to go get things that like look a little bit more authentic, a little bit more worn in. So you go to thrift store. So okay,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
I did not know that, but that 100%
yeah.
tracks.
Oh yeah, 100% a theater kid. Have been a drama king, queen, whatever, for my entire life. So
Nice,
always
nice.
been on the stage.
Nice. Same. Same. All
Yep.
right. So we will get into the fan edits. So Krishane, at the time of recording this, is currently holding a viewing party of her fan edits. So why don't you talk us through some of that, Krishane?
Sure, yeah. So we're currently on a little bit of a hiatus from the viewing parties. We've got a month until the next one. Got a little break in the peak of summer here. But the fan edits essentially, they have been a labor of love for about the last 7 years, intermittently, not like every single day sort of thing. I'll work on them and then I'll put them aside for a few months or a couple of months and then come back to them. But essentially it was all born out of the fact that there's a lot in the Peter Jackson films that I love and I cherish and I think that they got right. And then occasionally there's some parts where I'm, sitting there not so happy. So the goal was to make myself a little bit happier. Take the best parts and restructure everything, try to kind of address some of the mischaracterizations that were the most egregious to me, but not just address those issues. I also wanted to restructure it and get it closer to the structure with books 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, book 6 in the novel The Lord of the Rings that Tolkien has. So you have, instead of everything being intercut after the breaking of the Fellowship, especially, you get like those narrative leapfrogs where you're going back and forth in the narrative. And I feel that not only in the book but also in a film version, you do have a little bit more natural tension there to work with because you the audience, you're not in on everything. And so I wanted to restore that. So it's
Yeah.
been fun. It's been hard sometimes, but I'm pretty happy with the end result right now.
That's awesome. So for those listening or watching, Krishane sent a link to Zach and I to watch, and as an amazing host, I've watched a half hour of one of them, of the three that she sent. Got a little busy. Whoops, sorry. But I'm actually really excited. I'm honestly though, I'm really excited because I have for years said that I would love for the Lord of the Rings to be made into a TV show. I've said this on this podcast. I've said it on Threads. I've said it on TikTok. I've said it all the time because I love the narrative structure of the book because it is exactly that. For one, like I call it book because like it is one overarching story, but it is also 3 volumes separated into three. I'm sorry, it's 6 volumes separated into 3 volumes of one large story. And what Krishane is talking about. So the first one is called The Return of the Shadow.
Return of the Shadow. Yeah.
Return of the Shadow. I just watched it today. I was like, wait a minute, what the hell was the title of it? Return of the Shadow, and then The Ring Goes South, and then The Treason of Isengard. Hold on, you only sent us 3. Let me see if I can remember because these are what Tolkien was toying with too. So then it would be The Ring Goes east, and then it would be. Am I right on that one?
So then book 5 would actually be, no, sorry,
Book
book,
4.
book 4. We're on book 4.
Yeah, because that's
That
Sam,
one
Frodo,
is
and
the Journey
Gollum.
of the Ring Bearers.
Oh, okay. Because I know one of the titles he toyed around with was The Ring Goes
The Ring
East.
Goes East. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so what did you name it?
The Journey of the Ring Bearers.
The Journey of the Ring Bearers, and then so next is, oh God, what was it? What did he call that one?
So I can tell you what I used, and I don't know off the top of my head if it's the same that he was trying with.
I'm gonna double check it.
Do you want me to tell you first, or do you want to?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so it is the War of the Ring, and then book 6 is the End of the Third Age.
Okay, so they were originally titled "The Ring Sets Out," "The Ring Goes South," "The Trees of Isengard," "The Ring Goes East," "The War of the Ring," and "The End of the Third Age." Okay,
yeah.
Okay, because the Return of the Shadow, I think, is what he called wasn't that what he called the sequel to the Lord of the Rings that he never?
Shadow. That's the New Shadow, I think.
Oh, that's the New Shadow. You're right. Okay.
Return of the Shadow. That's part of the History of Middle Earth series, though. That's the title of, I think, the first of the books that deal with like the evolution of the Lord of the Rings, but then the history.
Okay.
Of the proper.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many damn things that he wrote and rewrote and named and renamed, and it's so.
And there's like he's very precious about particular words that get used and reshuffled
he's very what?
And he's very precious about particular words. Like, I really like this word, shadow.
Yeah.
Like 5 different things.
Yeah. Oh, like Doom, like how everything is the doom of this, the doom of that, the doom of this person. Yeah. Yeah. The dude didn't like to use the word fate. So tell us about the editing process. You said it was 7 years intermittently.
Right.
Regardless, I edit exactly. I edit very short things. Most people who listen also know that I, do a TikTok, and I have an Instagram and a Threads, and I post silly little videos. And like yesterday, I just posted one, the song Tequila with the orcs dancing. So I sped things up, I slowed things down so I could get the orcs like doing things on beat, and I did a little bit forward and turned things backward, and then I just duplicated and had it go over and over and adjusted speed. And so that was about, how many cuts was that? God, that was about 40 to 50 cuts, and editing, speeds and for reversing frames and stuff like that. That took me 2.5 hours to do that and line it up to the music.
Yeah.
And that video is under a minute. So if you were to take the intermittent part out and just count the amount of, you don't have to do it in hours, the amount of days that you think it took you to get the entirety of the story, how long do you think it took you to do all of that? And Zach, you also have a fan edit, don't you?
I have not edited not the same way. No, not like that. Just mine.
Okay. While Krishane's thinking, what other, have you done any fan edits, or you just like to edit things? I can't remember.
I mean, I've just edited things myself. I mean, I've been editing since, years. I mean, gosh, if we moved to that. I mean, I've probably been editing videos since at least 2005. I started with Windows Movie Maker back in the day, and what I would do would film something, and then like if I wanted to add lightsabers or something to it, I would take a picture of every frame and then save it on my computer.
My God.
And then in Microsoft Paint, I would paint in the lightsaber, and then I would put everything back into Windows Movie Maker and then speed everything back up to make my movie. And
that's fucking
that
Jesus.
Is insane.
Jesus, that is dedication. Holy fuck, dude.
I mean, I think
because I'm using AI to fucking take shit out, and every once in a while I gotta like hand erase shit, like every once in a while, and like that gets annoying when it's, especially when it's moving. To fucking frame by frame through, like paint in lightsabers, like that's fucking dedication.
It was a lot. I had like over 4,000 individual stop pictures or JPEGs or whatever. And my parents would get upset with me because they would take up space on the computer. And at the time I didn't care about that. So I was just doing it. But yeah, no, I've been editing stuff, and I started, like I said, with my Microsoft Windows Movie Maker. And then our computer literally blew up, and so we got a Mac, and so I've been using Final Cut ever since.
You can't hold on. You can't just fucking say my computer blew, like literally blew up, like the fucking you did the fucking or the Elaine yada yada sex. No, I mentioned the bisque. You can't do that. Back the fuck up. The fuck you mean it literally blew up?
So my dad we lived in Florida at the time. I think it was Florida, and we had maybe it was Alabama, but we had a Windows PC that he built. Like he had somebody help build. It had like all the biggest hard drives, the best processor at the time. And we were watching. I think we were watching some sort of movie. I forgot what it was. I think it might have been Polar Express. Okay. But we were sitting there watching something, and we heard a pop. And then we started to smell smoke. And my dad was like, what the hell? And so we're like looking around, and we find that the computer has literally just caught on fire and has like literally exploded from the inside. Something I think happened with the processor. I was too young to care other than that it exploded.
Were you editing things at that point?
I was.
Is that when you had the 4,000 files?
That may have been part of the problem.
Listen, I'm not a computer diagnostic specialist or anything, but I have a feeling that
it might have been partly the issue,
the RAM,
but it was undetermined, so I'm free of that. But no, it was my dad at that point was like, all right, I'm done with this. Let's just get a Mac. And we got our iMac, and then I remember when it came in again, at the time I was out spending most of my time outside. I hardly ever did anything inside as a kid. And then I remember when it came in, my dad was like, hey, I have a surprise for you. When I bought the computer, I had it preloaded with this editing software for you.
That's fucking awesome.
And like, I was very blessed. My family, my parents very much encouraged me to pursue my filming and editing. And I've been editing ever since. I can sit for hours and edit and like not eat, not drink, not anything. I could just sit at my computer and edit something for hours and not realize that it's been 5 or 6 hours. And my wife's like, it's time to eat dinner like 2 hours ago. You should probably, stop and eat. And I'm like so hyper focused that I don't even notice what's going on.
So you also have ADHD?
I do. Yes.
I don't think there's been a person on this podcast who has been neurotypical. Actually, real quick before we get back to what we're talking about, is there a person in the Tolkien community that is neurotypical?
No.
Right. I don't think so.
I've never met himself definitely is neurodivergent. No, that's fucking wild, dude. That's really cool that your dad had that shit preloaded for you too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And and then I started doing stuff in the backyard, and that's when like I started to get a little bit more, being able to do a little bit more because I had more sophisticated stuff. So then I was like learning how to edit and like not having to film everything all at the same time in continuity, and like being able to like film a scene here and actually put it together later. And I started learning like the aspect of a scene rather than like, all right, well, I'm filming this and this is what comes next. So I have to make sure that this is exactly the way that I left it so that tomorrow when I come back to film it, everything's back perfectly. And like, I learned so much just from being able to edit. And so know that you took something that was already done to edit it for however many years, like that is insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And real quick before I get back to the original question I asked Krishane, speaking of sitting and just editing things for hours, like, so most of the time, besides the podcast, I do all my shit on my phone. I was using CapCut, but there's the whole thing that CapCut is weird recently. So I've been using what am I using right now? Hold on, let me double check on my phone. It's called InShot. It's basically the same. That I can't separate audio. That's the only thing I don't like. Like I can extract audio out of a clip, but I can't then separate like vocals out or specific instruments out. So that's irritating. I have to figure that out. But that's whatever. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of editing.
It's so much fun.
The only time I hate it is. But the only time I hate it is editing this when somehow my program goes nope and then shuts off. I'm like, where the fuck did that just go? That happened which would be 3 weeks ago, which was 2 episodes ago. At the time of this recording, I had done, it was episode 2 of my conspiracy theory with Bree and David. And I got everything done except for one thing. I was putting one more transition in.
Oh no.
And then the program I used is Final Cut Pro, and I'm on a Mac. And suddenly, Final Cut Pro was like, "You don't have enough space. I'm gonna shut down." And then it shut down. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh no.
So I went in and figured out how to clear all my shit out and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I had to re-edit everything. I had the audio, but I also do audio visual, so I had to go back the fucking next day because I was pissed. I go back the next day and I did the video, and because I'm like, I have to just do everything the same way generally, and if I don't have a video for one, I'll be like, I don't like that. Anyways, Krishane, back to the original question: how many days, hours, months, years, even like if you were to compress everything, take out the intermittent part of it?
It has to be at least a year, but that's just ballparking. I have no idea because much like Zach, I would just lose track of time doing it. I would just realize, I would sit down thinking, okay, I'm going to do this specific section. I'm going to work on this. It's, maybe it'll take an hour. Before I knew it, it had been 5 or 6 hours, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and I'm sitting there like, fuck, I have to get up and go to work tomorrow. Am I?
Oh my gosh.
I can't
Go
even
to work tomorrow? Because I don't think I am. I think I'm going to not be feeling well.
Well, just thinking of the different aspects of what makes up a film. You've got not only the visual of everything, because the visual of everything to sync it up is generally not the hard part.
That's easy. Yeah,
that's generally the easy part. The hardest parts to me that I would think would be like the dialogue when it overlaps with the scene and it goes into something else that you're not going to use, but you got to extract that audio, kind of like we were talking earlier. And then the music, because the music is scored specifically to the way it's shot. Because for those who don't know, a film is shot and edited and put together as 100%. This is what it's going to go out as, and they'll call it a rough cut, but like the studio and the producer and the director all go like, "That's the film." For the most part, there's a couple times where they're like, "I don't know, I don't like it," and then music's added, and they go, "Yes." Like Jaws, is an example. But so then the orchestra and the conductor and the composer all come into the studio, and there's a big screen on the wall, and the orchestra is set up, or whoever. Like, let's just assume, just because this is Lord of the Rings, they're using an orchestra. So the orchestra set up. I believe Howard Shore was also the conductor. He was the composer, obviously. I believe he was also the conductor. So he's standing and he's watching the film, and he's getting his cues from the film. And so it's recorded basically live to the film, and then obviously they go back in and do the editing or the mixing and the mastering and all that stuff, and they'll extract out like specific tracks, or they'll like re-record specific tracks. It's wild how that it's wild to me. Just I'm a musician, and I also love like all the artsy stuff of like movie making, similar to Zach, and the editing stuff like both of you. So that had to have been that specifically, I think, to me, is probably that and the sound effects, the Foley shit. Like those two things had to have been the fucking worst.
Yeah, the Foley stuff was really, really difficult. Most of the time I was okay with that. I could use the audio that I had, and I found ways to like actually have audio transitions where I didn't have to mess with the Foley too much. But occasionally I would.
Did you have to make your own Foley sounds ever?
No, I'm not that cool. I'm not that cool.
You just didn't have the patience. Listen, I get it.
Right. No, did not have the patience for that. I found some free downloads and I'm like, cool, we're good. Got people walk in, we've got walking sound effects. Great.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So I did have to do that a few times, but really like the hardest part was managing some score transitions, because occasionally that would get awkward, and I would have to abandon sometimes what I wanted to do because I couldn't make the music work, and I didn't want to sacrifice that aspect of it just to make the edit fit into this box that I wanted it to be.
Can I raise my hand?
Yes.
It's my podcast. I'm raising my hand for some shit. Okay, so I would love for you to tell me the things that you had to abandon. Like, I haven't watched it yet, but I want to know what you had to abandon for the score, because I have gotten really good at figuring out how to make things like that transition. So for those who don't know, and I'll put it in this, I'll like in the podcast, I will put this video I made in here. Remember the Adar one that I made on TikTok where it had that heavy metal music?
Yeah.
So yes, it is one complete song, but that song has like 5 different parts to it that all sound different. and I took from 4 of those 5 parts and meshed them all together. And I figured out how to make that all sound like one short song. So if you want me to figure out how to do it for you, there are ways, dude. You want a toe? I can get you a toe by 3 o'clock with nail polish.
I honestly can't even remember the things that I abandoned at this point. I'm just gonna straight up like that's a past iteration, and I don't even remember it. I just remember that it happened.
I also know how to score music, so I could also just like do that and make my own transition.
Magic.
Yeah. Listen, I'm one of those, like, if I want to figure it out, I will do it. That's how I learned how to edit. That's how I learned how to, like, all right, that's not necessarily how I learned how to play music. That's how I learned to play specific instruments, because I have been playing music since I was 8, and like in 8th grade through college, I played in like orchestra, jazz bands, and marching bands and shit like that. That was like 2 specific instruments. That was like the stand-up bass and like anything in the clarinet family. Those are the ones I like had lessons on, and like those are the things I played the most. So, but everything else, and I play a ton of instruments. But not to toot my own horn or anything, guys.
You play the horn too?
I was gonna say, was that pun intended?
So tangent. We'll go on a tangent. Listen, I told you this before we started. We tangent here. My favorite instrument, 2 favorite instruments, are the oboe and the French horn. But I was already a woodwind player.
Okay.
And so I was like, I don't want to try the oboe. So I want to learn how to buzz my lips, and I want to learn how to play the French horn. My junior high school band director, Mr. David Alley, shout out Dave Alley. He was amazing. I'm sure he'll never hear this, but just in case it somehow gets to him. Awesome band director. I thought he was a hard ass when I was a kid, but like after I got to high school and had like a shit band director who was a fucking asshole, Dave Alley was amazing and actually really cared about us. Anyways, so one day in like 7th or 8th grade, I was like, "Hey, Mr. Alley, I really want to learn how to play French horn." And he's like, "What?" Because that doesn't make sense at all. Clarinet I think at that point I was playing the bass clarinet. I think I was playing the B flat contrabass clarinet. He was like, "What?" I mean, yeah, we have an extra if you want to take it home. Do you have a mouthpiece? I was like, I need a mouthpiece. He's like, yeah, we don't just like have extra. Like, I was like, I don't. He goes, he ordered me a mouthpiece.
Aww.
And I don't know where the fuck it went, but so he ordered me a mouthpiece, and then he let me take a French horn home. He was like, just have it back at the end of the school year, and I taught myself a little bit how to play the French horn. That was really fun. That was really
so
really
you
fun.
Literally can toot your own horn.
I could, if I had another one. Yeah, I could. But like at the moment, I have a piano right next to me, and I've got a couple guitars and a violin, a banjo, a mandolin, some basses, ukulele.
Yeah, no big deal.
No biggie. That's
just some things. I had guitar lessons for like 3 months, but I've been playing that since I was 8, and I'm 39 right now. Anyways, but yeah, if you ever remember what you abandoned, you hit me up, because I would love to figure that out, because that would be so fun.
If I remember, I will definitely let you know.
Yeah, if you're just like
going through and like just doing a run through and watching something, and I have that light bulb moment, and I'm like, oh yeah, it was that I wanted to do, I will hit you up.
That would be super cool, because like, yeah, that is the hardest part, is making sure the music lines up the way you want it to and impact the way it did initially, or create a new impact because that would be really cool too, to take the score from one spot that the character is in, and you could elicit an emotion from a different scene in that scene. Oh, I see you raising your hand. Yeah.
There's this really beautiful piece of the score that actually got relegated to the Return of the King extended edition credits. It's not in anything else. I actually used that instead during the death of Theoden.
Ooh. Is it?
Because I couldn't make the Rohirrim theme that they were using actually work with the way I wanted to splice everything and kind of rejigger that scene. Because I spliced out about half of it in total, the dialogue between he and Eowyn, because there's some parts where I'm just like, I just don't want it. So I recorded that really just beautiful. It's like this angelic piece of music. It's at the very, very end of the credits, and used that.
I can't wait to hear that, because that is, I know what you're talking about. That is a really pretty piece. I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
that's
So
it.
so when you first got done with, let's just go film by film. So 1 through 6. When you got done with Return of the Shadow and you watched it all, how did you feel?
The first time or the most recent time?
The first time.
Ooh.
Well, do both. Do the
Do
first
both.
time
I was
and then
just
tell
gonna
me
say,
how
I
you
wanna know
felt
both.
recently.
The first time. So here's another thing I have to say is that I was heavily inspired by another fan editor. Goes by the name of Kerr online. I have no idea who this person actually is. I've conversed with them a little bit on the fan edit forums. That's about it.
Did you say Kerr?
Kerr. Kerr.
Okay.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Is he the basketball player from the Bulls, Steve Kerr?
Sure, yeah, probably.
Who I think is a coach now?
in all his spare time.
Can you tell I don't watch sports?
So I heavily took inspiration from Kerr
Okay.
as far as like reinstating the narrative structure. Initially, the first time that I made my own edit, it was a lot more similar to theirs.
Okay.
And I felt good about my edit, but I didn't feel great. I felt like there were things that were missing or things that could be taken out that I didn't. And I felt like I really needed to think outside the box more and make it my own. And that's what I feel that I've done in this final iteration, is that I actually have made it my own edit with my vision. Of course, my vision limited by what material I have to work with.
Right.
Obviously, which is another challenge of fan edits. I hope to do things that I just can't because the material isn't there. But yeah, it went from feeling like pretty good, proud, accomplished. I had learned a new skill. I learned a new software. And
what software did you use throughout?
I used Kdenlive.
And when did you change?
I used Kdenlive the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that does audio and video. It's I run Linux off of my laptop. Bit of a nerd. My ex-husband, now friend, high school sweetheart, computer programmer, and that's why I picked up that habit to run Linux off my laptop instead of Windows. So
I didn't realize that you were Lex Murphy from Jurassic Park. I know this system.
Right? Yeah. So that's me, and it's open source, which I love. It gets a little buggy sometimes, which I don't love, but it's pretty reliable.
Listen, I pay $300 for Final Cut Pro, and that shit was buggy too. Like, I almost called Apple screaming. Actually, I could have called Zach. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I probably am not the best person for that kind of thing, for like programming and the actual coding part of things. But if you have a broken thing, I can fix it most of the time.
I know. I remember when I told you about my laptop, and you were like, "Oh, you're gonna have to go do this. They're gonna charge you this." And I was like, "What the fuck? I have AppleCare." You're like, "They're still gonna." I forgot about that, by the way. And I went to Apple one day with my computer. I set up an appointment and everything, and I was like, "Yeah, I just need this fixed." And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna send it off. We're gonna take this piece off, and then you'll get it back in about 2 weeks." And they're like, and we'll charge you $200. He might have said a week or whatever.
I'm gonna say that's crazy.
I don't recall, but he was like, "Yeah," and then just pay $200, and then we're good. And I went, "But I'm paying for AppleCare." He goes, "Yeah, and I was like, "The fuck am I paying for AppleCare for, motherfucker?" It's fucking insurance. Like, I'm paying for it for this shit. Yeah, you still gotta pay $200. Like, the fuck. Anyways, back to fan edits. Also, Zach, if you have any questions about, because I know, because you are an editor, you love film. By the way, real quick before we do that, how often did either of you watch the appendices for the Lord of the Rings films?
Oh, all the time.
Nice.
Nice.
I would assume so. Like,
just put that shit on in the background.
When the DVD that my dad got initially was just the regular, theatrical edition. It wasn't until all three of them came out and I went to Sam's Club and my dad got the 3-box and all the different colors edition, and then I would just watch those things all the time, and like being heavily influenced to become a filmmaker because of it, and then being able to watch them do their stuff, I was just like mesmerized.
Dude, specifically the forced perspective when the camera is moving is so, like, I was just watching when I was watching your edit earlier, Krishane, it got to the part where Gandalf and Bilbo are talking, and Bilbo pours the tea, and Gandalf like lifts the lid of whatever the fuck, and then he goes to put it back, and Bilbo was just right there, and I was just like, I just still don't fucking understand. Like it's so cool how much an angle can trick us, and the fact that like they used math to figure out like, all right, so if we're moving the camera this way and these things are moving in the opposite direction this way, it will actually maintain that perspective. Like fucking oh my god,
crazy.
Like I understand movie magic when shit like that happens. It's so fucking cool.
Something that like, and obviously I was never there, so I don't know this for sure, but having been to New Zealand and been to a lot of these places that Peter Jackson filmed, and they found places to film, it felt very much like Peter Jackson also has like ADHD, because literally if you're looking to the left, you get this beautiful like the shot of Fangorn Forest, of them walking into Fangorn Forest. But if you literally just turn to the right, that's a scene of them coming out of Fangorn Forest where Shadowfax comes running out.
So there's a wormhole.
And so literally it's like he was like filming over here, and he's like, oh, this is perfect, and then oh okay, now we're gonna go film over here. Like it was insane to see how many places were so close and in the same place, but in different places in the film, and how they edited that to make it look like completely different parts of Middle Earth. And like, again, as a filmmaker, I'm just like, I know that all it was a camera angle, like you said, but that camera angle made so much of a difference. And it was just so cool to see that in real life, going from just left to right, even the same exact spot, and being in two different scenes. It was crazy. So I wonder
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say my question is like, as an editor, like as somebody who films and then goes to edit what he films, I very much film to edit. Like if I know, you know what I mean? Like I film what I know I need to film to edit what I need to edit to get the shot that I want. I can only imagine how difficult it is to edit something that is already done, that is not your own work. How do you not get frustrated?
Oh, I do. I get frustrated sometimes.
Why do you think it took 7 years?
Right. Well. And that's also where sometimes I would have to start thinking outside of the box, or sometimes abandon what I wanted to do. It's like these shots just aren't, like, you can't put them next to each other. It doesn't flow. It doesn't work. The cinematography looks janky when I do this, and it's not janky. It just makes it look janky. Right. So, yeah, it was a very, very frustrating process. And in fact, a keen eye may notice that there are some shots of characters here and there that have been flipped horizontally and mirrored, so that I can actually make a transition work more smoothly. There were some minor color grading things that I had to do here and there to actually get
color grading,
especially in Fangorn, because even within Fangorn, like without my edit, there were some inconsistencies that always bothered me. So I toyed with the color grading here and there a little bit.
And did you use the
Sometimes it's very successful, sometimes it's less successful. I will be the first to admit that. Like, I'm an amateur, and sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, you definitely messed with the color there.
7 years doing it. I'm not saying you're a professional, but I wouldn't call you an amateur anymore, honestly. You did it for 7 years.
Were you using the original color graded with that, like, almost that green haze tint to the films?
So that's the Blu-ray, isn't it? That's got the green haze, or is that the original DVD?
I believe that's the original. The original had more of like, it's not like it wasn't just green.
They saturated the greens and
yeah. I think that is
especially like the Shire.
I think that is the one that I was using. So it's apparent sometimes.
Because I do love the 4K versions of the films. Like, you get to see so much more detail that you never saw in the originals if you're like really looking. But there is something about those originals that just is so.
I was just gonna say,
it just feels like going home. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
I am a. I guess I'll just say pretentious asshole. when, when it comes to when it comes to art, that is to say, specifically for music, recorded music, and recorded film and television. Those things were recorded on those mediums that they were recorded on, and they were adjusted to sound the way or look the way they could look the best to the director in that medium. When you change the medium, it changes the sound, and the visual quality.
Mhm.
So, like for something that was recorded and meant to go on vinyl, you should listen to it on vinyl. I mean, like if you want the best quality, like if you just want to listen to it, whatever. But if it was recorded digitally, it's probably going to sound better digitally, even though generally vinyl will sound the best. If it was recorded to be on tape, it's going to sound best on tape. Like I said, I'm a musician, so I'm going to use that a lot. But when it comes to film, if it was recorded on film at a certain definition or whatever, then I think it needs to stay there. I cannot stand the George Lucasification. Wow, that was a weird way to do that word. I cannot stand when people take George Lucas's route and change it, because that's the way that you could do it, and that is what people fell in love with. Fucking keep it that way. If you want it to look different, fucking reshoot the whole fucking thing, man, on a different fucking medium. I can't fucking stand that shit. I really can't. And like,
I cannot argue with you.
As an artist, like that's why it sounds really pretentious. But like as an artist, if I know personally that I would be like, that could be better. But also, if people love it, leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't need Greedo fucking moving. I don't need Jabba in a scene he wasn't in. Motherfucker. Yeah. God damn it. Anyways, that's just how I feel. I haven't watched the 4K specifically because of that, though.
Honestly, it's the 4K. If they didn't add anything to it, they just made it 4K, and I do like that aspect, because I also dislike that the stuff that they just added in to like you said, the Star Wars movies. It's like, this isn't the movie I watched. Yeah, this is not necessary. This has nothing to do with anything. Why would you add this or change this bit? I don't feel like they did anything like that. Except just increase the quality of the actual film itself, like the actual film quality. But again, there is something, and I agree with you. Like, there's something when I watch those original, just on the regular DVDs, those original ones, like there is something that just feels so good and just feels so much more full.
Yeah, well, and it's the way. It's the way that Peter Jackson, since we're talking about Lord of the Rings specifically, it's the way that Peter Jackson intended it to be viewed.
Yeah.
So why change it? It's the same when like it's on television, like just randomly, back when, there wasn't fucking streaming services all the time. Like, remember, we're all old enough to remember when you just had to flip through the channels, and you would come across a film that was shot in like the letterbox ratio, which I can't remember what the actual numbers are. I'm sure either of you know, but do you know it, Zach, offhand?
There's a couple of different ones. There's like hold on, there's one
like standard film movie screen ratio. I can't remember what size it is. That's 16 by 16.9 by is it 16 by 9? I don't know. Anyways, so when it's meant to be shot that way, and like you'd be clicking through the channels for you youngins, we would do that, and you would come across a film that was shot in that standard aspect ratio, and then it was the television aspect ratio because it wasn't reformatted to fit the TV, and you were cut off. So if you're watching on YouTube, where my hands are, that's like you lost that much of the film. And so like you would have like someone's face like this when they're in the middle of a fucking scene, because it was shot to have this entire box shown. It was fucking weird. So I remember the first time I noticed it was back to Jaws. I'd gotten what was it, 25th or 30th anniversary of Jaws when I was younger. This is my favorite film. I mean, I talk about Lord of the Rings all the time, but like Jaws is like my fucking peak. Also, at the recording of this, it's June 19th. June 20th, tomorrow, is the official 50th anniversary of Jaws. And there is a replica of the orca in Martha's Vineyard where the film was shot. Anyways, so I had gotten this like 25th, 30th anniversary, and it's set in letterbox, and I was like, what is that? And my dad was like, that's where you get the black bars on top and bottom, so it looks like the like you're in a movie theater. And I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, I don't like that. But I watched it, and then I saw it on TV years later, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like before they had these giant TVs that just like are ready for that aspect ratio. I was like, the fuck, you're missing shit. Oh, that's what letterbox is for. Oh, and that's when I got really pretentious. Oh gosh. Anyways, thank you both for being on here. I really appreciate you both. Before we go, though, I have to ask, Zach, where can we find you if people want to engage more with you and talk more about like editing and films of any kind?
Yeah, I'm on pretty much everything: Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube, all under Zak Vlogs. ZAKVLOGZ. I think that's everything, right? Maybe. Let me just look at my apps real fast.
Feel free, man.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, but it's all just under Zak Vlogs. Always more than happy to have a good discussion, or you can ask a question, and I'm always happy to do some research and make a video and anything like that. It's always a good time.
I have a question, Zach. Do you have any like projects you're working on right now?
Oh yeah. So completely unrelated to Lord of the Rings of any kind. Literally 1 week from today, I'm going to a Weird Al concert.
Wait, where?
In Kansas City.
Okay, because I'm going to a Weird Al concert a week from Sunday.
He's probably it's his bigger, weirder tour, right?
Yeah. He's going to Chicago.
Yeah. Well, I got the VIP package, so I get to meet him.
I don't know what I have.
Show.
My friend told me I don't have to pay him shit. He just wanted to take me. So
a free concert. That's great.
100%.
When I first started making videos for YouTube and for myself, I did a lot of music videos, and Weird Al was what I was listening to as a kid. And so right now the project that I'm working on is I want to go and find all my old music videos and kind of make a little Zak Vlogs, which is the reason I call myself Zak Vlogs, is I've been making vlogs. And I want to make a little Zak Vlogs about me starting out as a kid making these stupid music videos and now going to an actual concert and getting to meet him after the show. And
fuck yeah.
So that's the project that I'm currently working on as I smack my microphone.
That's very Richard Linklater of you. Boyhood. Very Boyhood.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I also used in my Lord of the Rings, in my trip to New Zealand 3-part video called Zak Vlogs There and Back Again, or There and Back Again, a Zak Vlogs tale. I did the same thing. I found a whole bunch of old footage, my old Lord of the Rings movie, and I put it in the beginning, and I made my own prologue, just like in the Lord of the Rings movies. And putting that all together and watching it's weird to see myself so many years ago and where I'm at now. It's weird. Going back and watching this stuff is weird.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't regret it. It's a little cringe, but you know.
Right on. Well, thank you very much, Zach. I really appreciate you being here. Krishane, Krishane's is different than her name at all. So where can people find you, talk to you about any Lord of the Rings Tolkien content or editing or fan edits or whatever?
I am mostly on Threads as the last Malorn. I am also on Instagram.
You spell that real quick for everyone?
Yes. The TheLastMallorn. I feel like I'm in a spelling bee.
I saw you looking up and to the, I think that'd be your left. I don't know. I think I'm different. Like I'm oriented different than you. But I saw you looking up and thinking, that's all good. You got it. I appreciate it.
I just want to make sure I was getting it right because I've been imbibing a little bit. So being real extra careful there.
Right.
Yeah, so I am the last Malorn. I am on Threads. I'm on Instagram. I've got a Facebook page. I don't really use it anymore. I hate Facebook. And I will venture into TikTok occasionally, but I don't make videos. So Threads is where it's at for me. I have a real good time on Threads. I'm a little bit of a goblin on there. Get a little bit of my fan editing information, a little bit of food posting, and like Hobbit day planning and stuff. I'm all over the place.
If people want to dabble. If people want to check out any of your, like if they want to like watch a fan edit with you, where would they find that?
So
Should they just hit you up randomly?
You just hit me up. And I always post, if you follow me on Threads, I will post a couple of reminders about those watch parties in like about 3 days before and then on the day of, and it'll have the link to the Discord group there, the Discord server. So then you can join that Discord server. It's not mine. It is our friend Kate's. But yeah, we are on Discord for those watch parties, and I post those reminders with the links pretty often leading up to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for being here. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Tolkien on Tap. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on any of my social medias. I'm on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at @the_Neej. Namarie.